Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Many thanks for staying with us on Global Television. We are back and we're going to go into the first discussion straight up. My guest is already seated in the studio, and I want to say welcome back from the AM News. That's what we do, bringing you to speed with vital and relevant information. Now, to the discussion for the day. Before we got started on Global Morning today, I told you we're going to be having 2 discussions. And I already gave a tip before we went on break. We're going to look at the judiciary. In 2024, how has the judiciary contributed to nation building? And I have a legal practitioner, a chartered mediator, seated right here, also a public affairs analyst, and as a matter of fact, is a human rights activist too. He's got so many feathers, and he's my guest today, Alexander Ogo Esquire. It's good to have you in the studio this morning, sir.
Compliments to the season.
Same here.
To be here.
Well, we are here again, counting days to 2025. 2024 was so challenging for Nigerians, and the judiciary, as a matter of fact, played some very vital roles in 2024. Now, what role do you think the judiciary plays in nation building? Because a lot of people feel, well, the only thing that the judiciary does is you have a case, you go to court, they tell you this person should go to the prison, this person is discharged and acquitted, and that's the only thing the judiciary is known for some persons. Do they do anything at all that contributes to nation building?
The judiciary does quite a lot. It's the third arm of the government in a democracy. And the role of the judiciary is to provide a buffer zone for the society, to ease tensions and to solve every jigsaw, every confusion, every conflict. When human beings, in the course of human relationship, there's bound to be friction from time to time. It comes in different forms. Some as a result of the pressure of work, some as a result of animosity, jealousy, envy, ill will. Because there are some people who are mischievous that want to frame other people up. You have some who want to intimidate others, and they get across other people's nerves. Eventually, the judiciary comes to look into these things and be able to decipher what actually transpired. To be able to say this person is wrong, and things should be done this way. And by that, the society is cooled off from high tension. Otherwise, the society will just boil over, and we can't survive. So, it's a cooling system of the society. That's generally what the judiciary does, and tries also to create a balancing effect between the activities of the legislature and the executive. The executive, especially in a developing country like ours, overreaches most of the time. The executive overreaches, they go overdo things the way they are not supposed to be done. It is usually that have to interpret what the law says, what needs to be done, and what shouldn't be done. in order that society should have a balancing effect and an advance. So the judiciary has a very crucial, very important effect. If you don't have the judiciary, like I said, the society will jump all over. Yes.
I think I like that word, the cooling system of the society.
Yes.
And how far has the judiciary been able to cool Nigeria's system? Now, let's get to independence and impartiality of the judiciary. How do you perceive the independence and impartiality of the judiciary in Nigeria? Because a lot of people have said so many things in the past, and someone may be listening now that needs some things to be cleared off their hearts.
The aspect of the independence is the first aspect I want to address. Personally, I am not comfortable with how judicial officers are appointed in this country. I am one of the proponents that we should have a constitutional amendment whereby the chief justice of the federation, the chief judges of the states, and the justices of the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and judges of the high courts and other judicial officers need to be appointed by a judicial arm. Judicial is the third arm of the government, and we should have the judicial arm like the National Judicial Committee and the equivalent in the states appointing judicial officers, not the executive. You know, whoever pays the piper, they takes the tune. Because the executive appoints the judiciary, it has led to undue influence over the judiciary that makes most of our judicial officers not to act independently. That has been the problem. Because they try to somehow pacify those who gave them opportunity. They see it as an opportunity. Someone has given an opportunity to serve, which is not what it is. You came there by qualification, and you went through the rungs of the ladder and got to the point of appointment. So it's not at the whims and caprices of somebody in the executive that has made you who you are. But that's what you see. That and is polluting the system in the country, which is not healthy. Until it is addressed constitutionally, we will still be having that problem. Impartiality. The judiciary is expected to be impartial entirely. And to a large extent, the judiciary have been doing that, but there are also some compromises we see from time to time. You know, in this part of the world, our system in the judiciary is still slow in terms of how adjudication goes, because of the provisions we have in our laws. We need to come to a point like what happened in the US, in UK, where a case gets to court within 7 days or 14 days, the matter is dispensed with. We need to advance to that. Yes, these countries have developed over time, but we need to get to that. Our own cases still last for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, some 10 years at the High Court. Not to talk about get to Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. And it's so good for us. So, but at the end of the day, most of the cases that get to the courts get impartial judgments, except in few cases, especially political matters, which need to actually be corrected. Because you'll be handling a matter, and in between, your client should be thinking that because the judge is making statement, the judge is against him or her. But at the end of the day, when judgment is given, because the court deals with the facts before it. The court is very investigative, you know, and why the court insists on evidence is when somebody is giving evidence, you look at the person's demeanor, conduct, appearance will make you know whether the person is telling the truth or not. When people are testifying, you'll be able to find out from their outlook whether they are faking it, you know. So at the end of the day, when judgment is given based on facts presented before the judge, and you find out that at the end of it, most of the judgments are very fair, not siding any particular person. The problem we have with the political aspect is because of the weight and quantum of evidence needed, most of the time, the person going to contest any of these electoral outcomes may not be able to gather the number or the quantity of evidence that will help the person to portray the facts. So you see that the judiciary will be bereft of enough evidence. That's one of the challenges. The second one is issue of technicalities, which I always pray that our judicial officers, should stem the tempo to ensure that our cases are handled not just based on technicalities, but based on substantial justice. Because we are looking at the society. It's not the individual that occupy a particular office today. It's the impact on the wider society. So substantial justice is better than technical justice.
No, okay, let me ask you a question, because you said something while we were talking.
Yes.
That
what happens in the United States,
yes,
and the United Kingdom, as it has to do with the time frame when been passed in Nigeria. We've heard of cases where some persons are remanded in prison and they spend like 10 years or so, 5 years in prison without being tried yet. We have situations like that. We've heard about it too. What happens if that person is eventually being tried and maybe the person's offense is supposed to attract maybe 1-2 years or a few months of imprisonment? Already the person has spent 10 years. What happens in that case? Will the person be asked to go since the these persons have already overstayed, or the person will have to face that consequences?
First of all, people staying long without being tried is the failure of the executive, not the judiciary, because it's the executive that controls the correctional system, former prison system. It's the executive that is supposed to bring these people to court. But most of the time, many of these people are not presented before the court. It's failure of the executive. Because if you don't bring them to court, the court will have nothing to adjudicate upon. When waiting for the person to be produced and be given evidences, reasons why vehicle was not there, there's no fuel and that, it's failure of the executive to have kept people for long awaiting trial. What the judiciary does is, when people are kept for long and eventually they are brought before the court, actually their legal officers or their counsel have to bring up the issue of failure of presentation of these people before the court, lack of diligent prosecution. And once a case of lack of diligent prosecution is made out, most of these cases are thrown out because they have failed to prosecute these people. So most of these cases are struck out. Now, the ones that had experienced delays and eventually were tried, when judgment is being passed, if you check these judgments, you find out that by the time the judge is dispensing the judgment, they used to backdate the starting point of the prison term the person is going to serve. A person that had been kept in correctional system or prison for 4 years, 5 years before judgment is given, you see, judges mostly backdate the starting point of their prison term to like 4 years or 5 years, so that if the person is to serve 10-year term, the person has already spent 5. So the one remaining is just remaining 5. So the jury always puts into consideration the time wasted that the case should come up. That's the way to solve such things than starting afresh for somebody who has spent 5 years. You are giving 10 years, and now the 10 years starts from now. You're making it 15 years the person has spent. But the court always tries to solve that problem by back.
That's well understood, but as it is right now, let's look at some of the judgments that have been passed in the past. Has there been any judgments that you felt was passed in 2024 that actually contributed to development of the nation, or made people happy, or that brought excitement, that contributed to development, national development, nation building, societal growth?
There are very remarkable ones. The case where the Attorney General of the Federation to the state governors, including the ACT, to the Supreme Court on the issue of the local government autonomy. That's a very remarkable judgment delivered by the Supreme Court. remarkable for all ages and all times to grant us local government autonomy. It can never be overstated. That's number one. Secondly, some governors teamed up to change the goalpost in the middle of the game because somebody don't want to be investigated by the ACC, and the next thing is to go to court and say that the ACC is having a legal backing, should be abolished, in order that you just go ahead and do whatever you want. But that failed at the Supreme Court also. That's very remarkable. In fact, I'm too excited about that particular judgment. EFCC can prosecute anybody, including me. It helps the society to sit up because there's so much impunity in this country. Yes, you see, this election is experiencing too much hardship under the present government by reason of removal of fuel subsidy, floating of the naira and all. There's so much hardship. Nigerians are overstretched, Nigerians are hungry, Nigerians are in terrible want, in deep pain. That's why we are hearing the issue of stampede. People have been doing palliatives. They have never been stampede. Because when you are sure it will get to you, you'll be patient. But now, they are not even sure of getting it. So they rather die than not get. And you see what is going on. And that's why it is wrong too for this government to start trying the organizers. It's failure of this government, not the failure of the organizers. Because people are overstretched, and this government should better own up the fact that Nigerians are overstretched. Why should people fight? At times it could be some millions of us, and people are dying for it. Is there a shame on this government? It's a very bad report of what is going on. So the government should rather correct itself. Because
the issue of palliatives, this happens almost every year. Even when the economy was not this challenging, we've had cases of people giving out palliative, especially festive periods. All right, this is not just the first time. So what's the difference? Even government too. Yes. There've been times where the government even give out palliatives and make some things available to the people. Festive period. What makes this one different?
Now, like the one in Anambra State, conducted by B. Jackson Foundation. He has been doing that for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
Yes. Every December period, he has been doing that. There have never been stampede leading to people being killed or trampled to death, except the one of 2024. The one of Ibadan, I learned that lady has been doing things like that. That's not the first time. And now people trample to death. In Abuja here, that happened in the Wakali Church, the Reverend Father that conducted that, when he was in Jigwe, he was doing that. It's just not only to Christians, including Muslims. He had been doing that in Jigwe. We have never had a stampede or any death. And at Matara here, he will continue with it. But now, people are overstretched because of lack, because of scarcity, because of extreme pain and hunger. What brought about stampede and death is hunger sponsored by government action, not the issue of philanthropic gesture of individuals. It's because of hunger, extreme hunger from what system government the government is carrying out now. That is what brought about the stampede and the death. And is better addressed that way. You see, the issue of removal of subsidy, when it was tried by Abacha government, we brought about PTF, headed by Buhari then, and PTF was doing roads across the country and so many other things in a way to cushion the effect. When Jonathan tried the regulation, he brought about shopping. There were things put in place that cushioned the effect. But this regime didn't do any of that. It threw people onto the rail when the trains.
I think the reason why probably we didn't have all of that is because of the problems we have with the humanitarian affairs ministry. Betta Edo, when she first came into office, there was a lot of media chats and she made a lot of promises, but with what happened along the line and the inconsistency in the humanitarian affairs ministry, don't you think that may have contributed to why we didn't have something like that yet?
No, not at all. During Abacha, there was no humanitarian affairs ministry. During Jonathan, there was no humanitarian affairs ministry. It was created by Buhari. Alright? The point is this: when a policy that affects every facet of the society like this is coming, you don't need a particular ministry to bring out something that will cushion it. You create it, then you cannot get people that will run it. You see? But to just throw it that way without, it's just like in a family, a child that is about to crawl is around, and you allow medical wires to be exposed in the house, and you say you don't expect it, the child will crawl to it. You have killed that child. The child will definitely experiment. So you have to coach the wires, then the child can move around. That is exactly what happened. The policy is so harsh, it's so drastic, and nothing is put in place. Now, even now, the government is thinking of bringing CNG buses. Like I live in Ghana, we see about 5 CNG buses, but we take care of Ghana, Aziz, Maraba, Kefi, and all. The 5 is not enough for Ghana.
That's it, for the start, at least. We're seeing something for the start.
No.
Don't you think more will be coming in later?
Let the more come so fast. That's the truth. No, that's a fact. Because for you to come, to transport yourself to this place, you understand? Because when they go to the filling stations, the amount they buy, they charge you as much as 900 to come to the city center. And you see people now loading themselves on top of trucks, not minding that they can fall and die or wound and all because of the high costs. So see, February 2023 till now is too long a time. It's just too long a time. The government should know about this, So drastic action should be done most urgently. The issues are too harsh. That is the truth. Those in political power do not feel it because they have all this free.
All right. The judiciary. Some persons have actually said the judiciary before now used to be the hope of the common man, the last hope of the common man. But there are some compromises that now people feel if you don't even have money, you can't afford a lawyer, and a lot of people are even looking for alternative means to handle their cases, their situations themselves, because they feel the judiciary no longer stands for them. Some cannot even afford the judiciary. So that's a challenge for the people, for the average Nigerians. If you want to talk about nation building, is there anything that can be done so that the average Nigerian at least can afford a lawyer in case of situations that will need them?
Now, actually, the challenge for against the judiciary even happen most of the time from non-judicial officers, but staff we find in the court system. There's this review made of the different MDAs in this country, how they operate, ease of doing business, and the Nigerian judiciary come out to be one of the worst. Nigerian judiciary, they talked of University of Ibadan, University, which other organization now, what are they talking about? The staff, their admin staff, their attitude to people that come to get assistance there. Most of the people we have admin staff in the judiciary, beliefs who will go to serve other processes, what they are charging people, and the people who are going to list your case before it will be presented even to a judge. These are the people that give bad name to the judicial system. People spend so heavily before they could have their cases listed to even appear before a judge. That's not the function of a judge. But what the judge is expected to do is to also know that something is happening on the ground. Yes, and sanitize the system. These people working under the judicial officers, the judges are supposed to put their mind on what they are doing. they are causing a lot of bad name to the judiciary. That thing needs to be cleansed. How much you pay for your notice to be served, and so on and so forth. These officers, well, most of them are not lawyers, are giving a very bad name to the judiciary. Then the judgments that come, like I said, the way the court is structured, everything is based on the facts somebody presents. You know, like I'm an advocate of people should not go into all this rape. It's bad. But also, let people not go and hang allegation of rape on innocent persons, because some women do it, which is too bad. That's why the court insists that whoever accuses must be able to prove. You bring your facts. In the course of proof, you won't be able to find out that actually this person was not raped, or the person even was the one who brought about the sexual relationship and later wanted to use it for undue advantage. So such one fail, and people say, oh no, the allegation of rape is good, this judge is biased. No, he gives judgment based on what he discovers. You come out before the judge to talk of rape if there are no facts about it. No is where the judge to uphold it. And then people will start shouting that this judge is not sensitive to the feelings of ladies. No, the facts. So it's actually the fact that come before the, for instance, there are this case in Osun State where the judge granted a clemency to a young man. They said he stole a fowl and was jailed. But the judge have been able to explain the fact before the court is that this young man had been involved in crimes terrorizing the community for a long time. He had come before the court before he was jailed. He came back from and still committed other things. So it's not just issue of the foul. They are using foul because it looks ridiculous. But you see, what is armed robbery? That you go to attack somebody, you might not hold any weapon, but for you to say, I will shoot you if you don't release this, you are armed. The person don't know whether you have gun or not. But you have to have said, I will shoot you, I will stab you. That's armed.
And it's criminal.
Yes, it's criminal. Not threats. Because who knows what you are holding? And an individual, by reason of that fear, releases whatever. That's an armed robber.
So that can be used against someone in the court of law.
Yes. A threat of harm is armed robbery when you go to steal. Even if you are not armed with anything, you say, I will shoot you, you are armed. I will stab you, you are already armed. It's a threat. Then someone will not say, he was such, I'm not was found. But what did he or she say at the point of committing the offense? These are the things that the judges analyze. But the people will now come and look at it for, so a lot of issue of fact presented before a judge matters. That's why it's important. Before you criticize a judge, try to read the content of that judgment. In the content, the judge tells the story of all that happened from the beginning. It's from all those things
that is still available to the public space.
Once a judgment is given, anybody is free to go apply to the court. You give the judgment. Anybody pay the registry fees, small amount. Anybody who is not connected to that, once a judgment is declared, the public document.
All right, that was actually one case that actually blew a lot of people's mind in 2024, because if not that you're saying it now, I don't even know behind it, because I was actually wondering, why should someone be sentenced to death for just stealing a fowl in the midst of hunger? And the person might have said, well, I was hungry and all of that, even though whether you are hungry or not, you shouldn't take anybody's thing forcefully. Now let's get back to the judiciary. In 2024, you've talked about judgments that was actually appealing, that you felt must have maybe pushed for development, society development, or maybe economic growth, or that made people excited. Were there also judgments, all right, that was like, Nigerians were like, hi, judiciary, what's this? Were there judgments like that was not so appealing to the Nigerian people in 2024?
We had much of that in 2023 on political matters. In 2024, I would say there are not many. There may be some isolated cases, But what actually brings about that bad feeling from Nigerians is when people look at the impact of the behavior, like politically exposed persons. Why I say it is because their lifestyle is affecting everybody and they are serving the people. So when judgments are given based on their actions and what people have seen them do, it goes to wound the fabric of the society. Like when you watch what happens during our elections, vote buying, intimidation, all right, harassment and all. By the time results are declared, people will be expecting that, how we wish the judiciary will be able to explain all these maladies and come out with something serious pain on people. But like I told the issue of political exposed persons, is there's so much that we expect from INEC. We expect a lot from INEC. You know, look at what happened in Ghana. Then it happened in Nigeria first. President Jonathan gave Nigeria that honor. You know, when in 2015 he congratulated Buhari before the final result. That made Jonathan a legend to all over the world. In Ghana, the electoral system insisted on uploading the results properly, which Nigeria failed in 2023. And I was surprised that our other chairman was saying that Ghana borrowed a lot from Nigeria. He was insulting himself because he failed when it was his time to say that our had glitches. He said, right. If he uploaded presidential results like that of the senatorial and House of Rep were done, that honor should have come to Nigeria. He failed Nigeria and failed the world by switching off that system. But Ghana did not do that. They allowed the whole thing to happen the way it's supposed to be. So it should bury his head in shame. That's where the problems come. But like I said, when it happens, people go to court. I've already explained that the challenge the judiciary has is that these people may not have the facts that will help them to prove their case. So the judge stands under a very tight corner. You have to pronounce on what you have seen. That's why we used to have that problem from the electoral issue that came before the judiciary.
All right, this is a model, there is modernization going on. What do you think in 2025, all right, the judiciary should do differently so that we can have a better 2025 compared to 2023 and 2024?
What the judiciary should do, desperate situations demand desperate action. What the judiciary should do in 2025, because Nigeria is at a crossroad, terrible one, sincerely speaking. What the judiciary should do is to insist strictly on substantial justice, not technical justice. Substantial justice. Should insist on it strictly and avoid technical justice. Technical justice have done a lot of harm in this country. We have suffered so much and we don't need to suffer further. Substantial justice should prevail. With that, we'll be able to move forward. That's what the judiciary should target in 2025. Because people are losing faith in the judiciary because of cases of technical justice that have come out here and there. The substantial justice comes out in such a way that even someone will be able to feel it and see it. So substantial justice should be the rule of the game.
But then, finally, before I let you go, do you think there is anything the Nigerian people can do to support the judiciary so they function very well? Because a lot of Nigerians are expecting so much from the judiciary, and the judiciary have so much to do to restore its image, because a lot of Nigerians are losing interest in the judicial system. So on the part of the Nigerian people, is there anything you think they should do as Nigerians to also encourage the judiciary to do better?
Yeah, what Nigerians should do is areas where the judiciary have got it right to encourage and shout it out, hype it, you know, speak out about it where the judiciary has got it right, that goes a long way to bolster confidence, quite a long way. So there's need to appreciate areas where the judiciary has got it right than condemning in all aspects. Wherever things have been done rightly by the judiciary should be highly appreciated, publicly appreciated by Nigerians. That is a way of encouraging the people who are laboring this. And two, Nigerians should also insist on the executive, withdrawing from interference in judicial affairs. Budget meant for judiciary should be released to the judiciary. This issue of government buying vehicles for judges is unhealthy. The money should be released to the judiciary. Let the judicial system buy vehicles to serve the system. We don't see the judiciary buying vehicles for governors or for people working in the MDAs. It is from this government that releases an air from budget. So judiciary should be made to be able to control their budget. The public should insist and shout on it. These are ways you can get this thing solved.
Alright, these are ways that we can get these things solved. We're talking about 2024 in review, the role of the judiciary in nation building, and I had a very robust time. Well, I don't know about you. My guest has been Alexander Obo, a legal practitioner, a chartered mediator, and also a human rights activist. And I want to say a very big thank you to you for joining us on the conversation today on Global Morning.
It was a pleasure.
I will hope to have you some other time again, because this conversation is not over yet.
Exactly.
We have so much to talk about as it has to do with the judiciary, and we're waiting for when that slogan, go to court, when you hear it, you won't feel bad. You know that, yes, going to court is going to come out with something very favorable.
Exactly. I'm always available. Thank you so much.
Alright, we will go for a quick break. After this break we return and we'll go into the second conversation. Let's look at the economy a little bit. How has it been in 2024? Because this is 30th December 2024 and we're moving to 2025, but then we can't just get into 2025 without looking very well at 2024 to see where we got it wrong and what we got right that we need to improve on. That conversation will be coming after this break. Stay with us. does every Nigerian have a perspective as far as the economy of the nation is concerned? Beginning from the first day of January 2024, coming down to the last day of December 2024. If you ask an average Nigerian, they will tell you one or two things about the economy of the nation. As a matter of fact, Nigeria's economy, events have been unfolding, and so many events that have shaped 2024 is what we are looking at today. How has the economy fared? Some persons are of the school of thought that yes, it is tough, but though we are on the right track and we're getting somewhere. Some economists have come to tell us that yes, this is the best that we can get, that before anything comes out beautiful, you need to go through some processes which might be difficult. But then, your perspective, my perspective, his perspective, her perspective, and everybody's perspective is connected in a way to what is happening right now, talking about the economic, the reality of the economy. Now, we have a discussion in front of us here, and we are going to be looking at Nigeria's economy, events that shaped 2024, so many of them. And I have my guest in the studio. He is a data and economics analyst, and his name is Dennis Adesanere. He's right here with us this morning. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Mr. Ramsey. Thanks for having me.
It was good to have you. Well, I don't know, but then just one day before we get into 2025. Is that exciting? A lot of people want to live 2024. I don't know. But then what about 2025? Is that exciting?
Well, actually, it has been ups and downs for the economy this 2024 rather. It has not been easy for an average Nigerian, but despite the economic reforms in place by the country, these the reforms are necessary but painful macroeconomic reforms which the president is really undergoing. So it has not been easy. An easy year for Nigerians, but definitely there's light at the end of the tunnel in 2025.
2025, I like that. It's like we're talking like we're working with the president. What the president will always tell Nigerians, even during his media chat, he talks about it, that there is hope. The president is always giving Nigerians hope. Now let's get to the discussion in front of us. Events, activities, policies, reforms that shaped 2024 as far as Nigeria's economy is concerned. Now, what's your school of thought? Because a lot of people have different perspective to what the economy brought to the table in 2024. What do you think? What's your school of thought?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Ramsey. For me, the economy in 2024 has not been a robust one for Nigeria. When we talk about the economic activities in the year 2024, I'd like to start by giving the economic indications we have currently at the moment. Nigeria is ending 2024 with an inflation rate of 24.6%. That's the consumer price index after November this year. Remember, we started with 29.9% inflation rate in January, but this year now the inflation currently stands at 34.6%. Also, the GDP grew by 3.46% in the third quarter of 2024, though that's below our target of 7% in the year. Also, we have the capital importation, falling to $1.2 billion at the end of the third quarter of the year from the $2.6 billion it was in the second quarter of this year. Also, in 2024, we have the GDP per capita falling to $877 from the $1,273 it was in 2023. So this year, the GDP per capita income measures the output of Nigerians per population. Per individual in the population. So that means that the worth of an individual in the economy now is $877 from the $1,773 it was in 2023. Also, this year we also saw our revenue to GDP standing at 10.4%, which is one of the lowest in the whole world.
In the whole world,
our revenue to GDP is one of the lowest in the whole world. Considering the fact that the median, the the ratio now to major countries in the B category in the Fitch rating is 19%. That's the category where we are. So, and of course, our own revenue to GDP stands at 10.4%, which is too low, one of the lowest in the world. Also, at the moment, this year, our debt to GDP currently stands at 45%, which is too high for an economy like that of Nigeria. So this year, it has not been a gloomy year. It has been a gloomy year for the economy, considering the fact that Nigeria started the year with the effect of the fuel subsidy removal and the liberalization of the foreign exchange market, which we're facing. Also, along the line, the course of the year, another subsidy removal came into being by removal of electricity subsidy, which was removed in the course of the year, which led to the regrouping of different banks in the electricity, for electricity consumers. This really increased the hardship on Nigerians. Even businesses found it difficult to operate because that energy cost increment increased the cost of production for companies and enterprises, which made them to, which led to increase in price of goods and services, which reduced their sales and which led to the reduction in their sales. This also has led to many companies, maybe some of them have closed down, some of them are, downsized their workforce. Even for individual, for consumers, it has reduced their power of purchasing. So the purchasing power of individual also reduced in the course of the year because of this economic reform effect it's having on them. For example, now people who maybe before spending 4 times on electricity recharge in a month, the spending amount might increased because some of them moved from maybe band C to band B, some from band B to band A and all that. So it has not been a rosy year for the economy. The major reason why the economy, where we have macroeconomic stability in this year, it's not far-fetched from the fact that what we have now is what we have budget deficit is what we really have. So we failed to achieve macroeconomic stability in the course of this year due to I don't know what to put it. I can put that inflationary spending we have in the course of the year. What do I mean by inflationary spending? I, as an economist, I believe that the major problem battling the economy this year is inflationary spending. This inflationary spending means when government spend much money without creating value, and when you don't create value, it means that much money will be chasing the few goods that you've been able to create. So that was a major reason we have in the economy this year, and of course that led to budget deficit. Like I said earlier, the major issue we have this year is the budget deficit. Budget financing led to 3 major problems for the economy. The first one we have is that it led to naira depreciation. The naira has already been depreciated at the beginning of the year, but deficit financing, widened the deficit in the economy. The second one is that it also puts more pressure on the cost of goods and services. It increased the inflation in the course of the year. And the third problem budget deficit created in the course of the year was that it led to increment in the cost of borrowing. What I mean by cost of borrowing, that's the interest rate. Business and enterprises needs to access capital. So their means of accessing capitals was reduced drastically in the course of the year because of the increment in the interest rate. Also, individuals, also go to bank to borrow. So this also hampered the economy in the course of the year.
All right. We're talking about the economy right now. A lot of people believe that the economy this year, what Nigerians believe right now is the hardship is as a result of the subsidy that was being removed. But then, as it is right now, looking at the way the economy is, we're talking about 2024 and we're about getting into 2025. In 2025 now, what are we supposed to, what do you think should be done? Because at least something needs to be done differently, all right, to get us out of where we are right now. As a matter of fact, do you think the federal government, because we're talking about the tax reform, the tax reform is also coming, from a different angle right now. Do you see that making any difference in 2025 from what we have in 2024, because the implementation, a lot of people don't even understand what the tax is all about, and you are aware that so many people were for and others were against. But now, you as an economist right now and a tax expert, what do you think about this tax reform? Is it going to make any difference in the economy in 2024 if it comes to play, because already it has not fully been implemented? If it's been implemented, is it really going to make any difference? But then you need to take us through what this tax reform is all about, because some persons don't even know what the tax reform is all about.
Well, thank you very much, Ramsey. Before we talk about the likely solutions or what the tax reform can really lead to, I think we need to talk more about the problems that led to these issues we are having at the moment. You know that, like I said earlier, the budget deficit was a major issue this year, which has led to the three problems I've itemized earlier on. We have the economy faced some challenges in the course of the year as well. The first one I can itemize again is we can also compare that to the increment in this budget deficit, number one. The number two, also, we have in the course of the year, we have a high debt stock, larger debt stock we have in the course of the year. Also, we have a slower growth this year, which means that the economy did not grow. I said earlier, it grew by 3.46% in the top quarter of the year. So we had a sluggish growth.
Why didn't the economy grow? Well, it wasn't
atomized. It wasn't grow because the economic reforms agenda has not yielded the positive reforms, the positive benefit, especially of these reforms. So, like I said earlier, the first one is that the budget deficit became larger in the course of the year. And number two, the debt stock rose in the course of the year. Also, we have a slower growth in the course of the year. So, this really pose a threat, a very great threat to the economic reforms of the federal government if they are not really caught. But the good thing about it is that I'm happy that the federal government in its 2025-2027 medium-term expenditure framework has itemized that, has really come out to tell us that they really want to narrow the gap in the budget deficit from next year to the next 2 years. They want to narrow the gap. So if they can come up with this, if they can achieve this target, it's going to help the economy next year. But if we fail to meet the target of this budget narrowing in 2025, it's going to lead to key problems for the economy. It will put more pressure on the price of goods and services, which will lead to more inflation in 2025. Another thing is that if we fail to narrow the budget deficit gap next year, it will also lead to more pressure on the exchange rate. You see that the naira will keep on being depreciated because the supply of dollar will keep on, the supply of we keep on being lesser than the demand for dollar. Also, the third point is that if we don't narrow the budget deficit gap next year, we have pressure on. We have a much pressure now on interest rate on the economy, as in the rate at which people can access capital, at which they can borrow. So you will see CBN keep on increasing the monetary policy rate next year if we don't narrow the deficit gap. In the deficit budget.
So you are in support of narrowing the deficit gap.
This is what can solve the problem. For example, you can see the NPR at the beginning of the year was 22.75%. Currently, the NPR, that's the interest rate, is now is 27.5%. This is the rate at which people access capital. What do you mean by NPR? This is the rate by which CBN lends to money deposit banks, which you call commercial banks. So simultaneously, this will now lead to how this commercial bank lend to people. It will determine how they will fix their interest rate at which they lend to individual, to business, to companies, and also it will determine how they're going to fix their deposit rate. The rate at which they give you interest on your deposit with the bank. So coming back to your question, I talked about the tax reform bills. How can it help the economy? Definitely, Nigeria is facing a revenue problem. I talked about our revenue to GDP area being among the lowest in the world at 10.4% at the moment. So Nigeria needs to look into non-oil exports in the coming year if we are to achieve macroeconomic stability. So, and of course, the major area we can look into is the area of taxation. We need to increase our revenue generation from taxation. So this is the reason why the president has brought out, or the federal government brought out the Nigerian tax reform bills, which are generating controversies at the National Assembly. This reform bill is to really, shore up Nigeria revenue generation from taxation. We are losing a lot from taxation. A lot of people, especially the high-level individual, are not paying taxes or are paying below what they should be paying. Like we've analyzed on this program before, I think on two occasions, what this Nigerian tax reform bill contains. There are 4 bills at the National Assembly. The first one is the Nigerian tax bill. The second one is the Nigerian tax adoption bill. And the fourth one is the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, which want to change the Federal Inland Revenue Service to the Nigerian Revenue Service, so which will expand their revenue net. They'll be able to collect some revenue which at the moment are being collected by the Nigerian Custom and other agencies. So they want to change the name to Nigerian Revenue Service. And the fourth one is the Joint Revenue Service Establishment Bill. That will be that want to change the name from they have the JTB at the moment. They want to call the Joint Tax Board. They want to change it to Joint Revenue Board, which will be an umbrella body for the subnational tax agencies, that are the state and revenue services across the country, and of course the Federal Revenue Service.
All right, that's well spoken. But then you're talking about tax now. You talked about the fact that Nigeria is not doing well in terms of income generation from tax. When you talk about tax, the average Nigerian will say, "Hey, this man wants the federal government to take more from us." Like I was looking at the charges that comes from the bank right now, the 15 naira, charges that come from bank and even fintechs. Because this is funny, of course. I uninstalled a fintech app that I was using. Why? Because I made a transaction and I saw 15 naira and I was like, hey, come on, who is this one? Are they trying to exploit me? I used to know 10 naira in the past. Why 50 naira? Not until I got to know that there is an implementation where you do transaction now, and instead of the 10 naira, it is 50 naira, and that's part of taxing anyway. Now, if you talk about tax, the average Nigerian will feel, who even pay tax? Is it not the poor people that pay tax in Nigeria? Yeah, this same school of thought that it's only the poor that pay tax in Nigeria.
Well, Mr. Ramsey, I think if our viewers, if they listen to the tax reform bill, and as we did the other day, we already put it on record that these new tax reform bills will ensure that those who earn higher income now pay more than those who earn lower income. Whether we talk about and having an income earner, someone who earns less than 800,000 naira annually after tax deduction, after deduction of pensions and other deductibles, will now be exempted totally from paying personal income tax. And also, those in the fintech sectors, those in the IT sector, now are totally been exempted from paying tax. If you work in fintech company now, you don't pay tax anymore, according to this new Nigerian tax bill. Of course, those in the technology sector don't pay tax again. So we want to widen the net. We want to widen the tax net so they can drag in more high net worth individuals into the tax net, so that they will be paying more than the low income earners in the country. These are what the Nigerian tax reform bills are meant to really address.
All right, let's look at some of the impacts of the budget deficit on the economy in 2024. I think you already talked about that now, but then somebody said there is already a light coming at the end of the tunnel. Some economists are already telling Nigerians that these reforms are for the good of Nigerians, that we are on track. I don't know, are you of the same school of thought that we are on track, that this is necessary?
Yeah, Mr. Ramsey, I, for one, as an economist, I've always supported the macroeconomic reforms of this present government. These economic reforms are necessary but painful policies that we have to, embark upon. For example, we can't keep on subsidizing fuel from neighboring countries. Nigerian fuel used to go as far as Senegal, as far as Chad Republic, as far as Mali. Because why? Because the rate at which we are selling fuel in Nigeria at the subsidized rate, was much lower than our neighboring countries. And of course, we know that the sad part of it is that we borrow to fund this subsidy. We never had the capacity for this subsidy, but we're borrowing, to subsidize. So I'm fully in support of the subsidy removal. But the only thing is that if I were to be Mr. President, I wouldn't have carried out the two macroeconomic reforms at the same time. First of all, I will have removed the first subsidy removal. Then wait a bit, maybe at the beginning or maybe at the middle of this year, which is after 1 year of subsidy removal, before talking about liberalizing the exchange rate regimes in the country. So, to me, the reforms are necessary, but they are painful impact. Definitely, they will bring austerity, they will bring hardship to people. But as time goes on, we're going to reap the benefit of this reform. The reason why people are complaining is that it's over 1 year now. We should have been seeing the reforms, and we should have been seeing the benefit of the reforms. But yet, Nigerians are still suffering. The hardship is still very high on the masses. So, for example, now, state government, I expect them to have been carrying out infrastructural projects in various states, because why the allocation they're getting has tripled since the removal of the subsidy. But it's very surprising that we've not seen many infrastructure projects on health, education, and the likes, roads in many states. So the real problem is with the subnationals, not with the federal government, for me, because since the removal of the subsidy, I expect them to have been embarking on several projects which we've not seen. Then also, to go back to your problem about the budget deficit, I said that the budget deficit has been inimical to Nigerian economic development in 2024. Firstly, it has exerted more pressure on the exchange rate. The exchange rate will keep on going down in as much as we have a deficit in the budget. What I'm talking about that, now I will continue going down because we are borrowing to fund. Our budget, and also we are not meeting our revenue targets. So in the course of the year, if, for example, we projected oil production to be at 1.8 million barrels per day, we are getting 1 million barrels per day. That will be a shortfall in the revenue. So that means we need to borrow to now cover up for the shortage of revenue. So this deficit will keep on increasing. It will keep on depreciating the naira. Then secondly, it will keep on putting more pressure on the cost of borrowing. The cost at which people borrow, the interest rate will keep on going down, will keep on increasing if we have budget deficit in the course of the year. And of course, thirdly, if we keep on having budget deficit, of course, it will put pressure on the goods and services we have in the country.
All right, to put more pressure on the economy we have in the country. Okay, our time is winding up. We're trying to wind up now. As a matter of fact, we have just like a few minutes. But then, what would you have to say about multiple taxation? Because a lot of people couldn't do business in 2024, especially small business owners. And that doesn't negate the fact that tax collectors are everywhere. You see, okay, let's use FCT for instance. In FCT, I was somewhere and someone walked in, knocked at the door and said this person from the revenue want to collect this and all of that. I had no ID card, nothing. And before you know, this money is being paid into somebody's account, and at the end of the day may not be accounted for it. What would you have to say about all these inconsistencies that is biting on the average Nigerians, especially business owners, before we wind up?
Okay, please, before I talk about that, briefly, let me talk about the gains that we have from this economic policy. This is what I've said. Despite the macroeconomic policies and the exchange rate policies we have, that despite the habits of the CBN, they want to simplify the foreign exchange regimes, and of course the tightening of the monetary space in the country. We've seen that naira has been facing consistent pressure to depreciate. So what I mean is that despite tightening the monetary policy, increasing the NPR and all that, we've seen naira going down the drain, depreciation every day. I think not every day. Also, the major impact we have seen is the fact is that a good benefit of these reforms has been it has increased Nigeria external buffers in the course of the year. For example, the Nigeria external reserve currently stand at $42 billion as at the 18th of December, up from $32 billion it was as at March.
So that's an increment.
Yes,
and courtesy of the policy,
yes,
the economic policy.
Yes, that Nigerian external buffers has increased, benefited from the economic reforms. What it means is that it can provide cover for external, for current external payment for 9 months. Just to put it in a simple language, this $42 billion can easily, finance importation of goods and services for Nigeria for the next 9 months if you don't have much foreign earnings in the course of the year. So back to your question, talk about people collecting taxes. The fact is that this Nigerian tax reform bill seeks to codify all the tax laws into a single document, so that different arms of government, different government agencies, will not be fighting, will not be coming to demand for tax from individuals, from companies and properties. Like I said the other day, so that not that will not be coming that okay, they want to take this, they want to collect this tax from you tomorrow. You not see extra coming from you, want to take this tax from you. Then FRS coming tomorrow, want to take the tax from you. So this Nigerian tax reform bill seeks to codify all this Nigerian tax law into a single document, which will be called the Nigerian tax law, if actually passed by the National Assembly. So this will go a long way in curbing multiple or double taxation like we have currently in the economy.
Well, this is us looking at the economy of the nation in 2024. We have just a day and to get out of 2024 Nigeria's economy. Events that shaped 2024 is what we're looking at. But I think Dennis has given us the breakdown of how we fared economically in 2024. The growth, the area we had some substantial growth. That was the last thing he said, our external reserve so far as a result of the economic policy. But Nigerians are now waiting for when this hardship can actually calm down in 2025 as it is. Finally, before I let you go, well, I know that is not predictable, but then are we going to have a softer landing in 2025 as far as this hardship is concerned?
Well, Mr. Ramsey, that's a very good question. That depends on how the federal government is able to implement the 2025 budget.
Okay.
If the implementation is very good, if the budget deficit gap is narrowed in the course of the year, definitely I expect Nigerians to have a better economy than we have this year. Because at the moment, oil production has risen to 1.8 million barrels per day, according to NNPC as of November. We struggle to increase production level in the course of the year. At the time, we were producing 1.1 million barrels per day in this year, and our target in the budget is over 2 million barrels per day. So the oil revenue, the oil production is increasing gradually, speaking up. And you can remember, Nigeria never met its OPEC target throughout the year. We couldn't meet our OPEC target. So with oil production increasing, the oil theft is going down. So definitely, if Nigeria can really get more external, more foreign reserve in this year, get some foreign earnings, I expect the economy to do better. Also, inflation is expected to go down, a bit to slow downward in 2025, because next year, if there's improvement in structural areas like improvement in security, which can allow farmers to go to farm, definitely food production, if it increase, the major cause of high inflation we are having, the CPI, is the food production. So if farmers can go to farm, if food production increase, definitely the consumer price index, that's headline inflation now, is going to go down to something around 29 or 28% in the course of 2025. So if we can implement the budget very well, I see the economy, doing better in the course of the year. Of course, exchange rate might still be around 1,500. That's like the parallel line now, 1,500. Because, for example, now this year, despite the economic reforms of the CBN, despite tackling the space of the monetary space, we've seen the naira going down every depreciation. Even at the moment, a divergence between the parallel market and the official exchange rate has reemerged in the last quarter of this year, which means that we are now having two parallel market, foreign exchange markets now. The gap is widening between the parallel market and the official exchange rate. This was what the policy of CBN to really simplify the exchange rate regime was meant to do. So at the moment, Naira has gone down, but what we want to do to achieve is not being achieved this year. We are having a wider gap now between the official exchange rate and the parallel market. So next year, I expect the economy to do better in all ramifications.
All right, thank you very much, Dennis, for joining us. Our time will not permit us to continue. We would have loved to say more so that Nigerians can know what we went through and how we feel economically despite the promises and where we are heading in 2025. If really there is a light beaming from the end of the tunnel. It's been Dennis, a data and economic analyst, with us in the studio today. Thank you very much for coming around, Dennis.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Ramsey.
All right, we hope to have you some other time again, and thank you, viewers, for being there. This is where we bring Global Morning to an end. It's been a very fantastic time on Global Morning today. And don't forget that coming up next is Talk Sport, and after Talk Sport, we have a lot of other programs lined up for you on Global Television today. Stay with us as you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient. Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks. It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.